Hello and welcome to the Chop Shop. My name is Dion Tucker. In this video, we're going to talk about how these 3 books really helped my development as a musician. Let's find out what inspiring words are written inside. Oftentimes as musicians, if we practice from a book, it's usually some kind of method book that's directly related to the instruments we play. It's very easy to overlook the mental practice that's required for us to really master our instruments. I want to take a little time to explore some of the concepts in these books that have really helped shape my overall approach to playing music. Before we do that, if you haven't done so yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you can get a heads up on whenever I put out a new video. I'll leave a link in the description below so you can find all 3 of these books for yourself. The first concept I want to touch on is something that I talk about quite a bit in my videos, and that's relaxation. There's a chapter in the book Body, Mind, Mastery that talks about relaxation. And here's what it says. Relaxation is the best single indicator of your well-being. Your degree of relaxation across the 3 centers, physical, mental, and emotional, precisely reflects your alignment with the natural laws. It goes on to say, one of the worst things about tension is that it leaks energy. Relaxation, in contrast, enhances strength, suppleness, stamina, and sensitivity. So how do these words relate to us as musicians? Well, I know for me as a brass player, many times we talk about physical relaxation and how can we relax our embouchures and our shoulders, different things like that that can directly affect our playing. We don't talk about the mental relaxation too much, which directly leads to you being able to relax physically. If you have a lot going on here, that's going to transfer to the rest of your body. And an important statement that was made was that it takes you out of the natural order of the way things work. So we want to stay as relaxed physically and mentally as we can so that we can be in line with the way nature intends for it to work. We never want to lose that connection with how we are naturally supposed to be working. Now, staying in line with having the mental aspect in check, there's another great chapter in this book that talks about the different stages of practice. And it says, practice is like gambling. You have to know when to quit. Only repeat your skill for endurance and stabilization when you can consistently repeat the correct pattern. Now, this is really important because we want to make sure we don't get in the habit of practicing mistakes. When we practice, we want to practice slowly and efficiently, so that way we can develop good habits in our playing, and when we go to perform, we play the same way we practice. The next book I want to pull a few concepts from is The Use of Self. Now, this is talking about the Alexander technique. If you're unfamiliar with what the Alexander technique is, do yourself a favor and look up some information on it. It's really quite fascinating. There's a chapter in the book about use and functioning in relation to reaction. And it says, it is in the nature of unity that any change in a part means a change in the whole. And the parts of the human organism are knit so closely into a unity that any attempt to make a fundamental change in the working of a part is bound to alter the use and adjustment of the whole. Why is this concept so important? As musicians, we can look at ourselves as athletes of the small muscles. When we make minor changes, it's really easy to overlook how those little changes affect our entire system. So we definitely want to take note to the little changes that we make. How does that affect the efficiency of everything that's happening with us globally? Now, another topic they talk about in this book that really is not talked about much is suffering and kind of how it's essential to us getting better. Let me read what it says. Life is a mixture of pain and pleasure. Suffering is an essential component of life. It is not to be denied, ejected, transcended, or avoided. Indeed, when held and embraced, it also becomes our teacher. Without it, we do not ripen and grow in the fullness of our humanity. Suffering is truly grist for the mill and food for the soul. And that's a pretty heavy concept. Now, suffering is not something that I wish on anybody. But if you have had to suffer through any kind of situation and you were able to overcome it, you know how important that lesson is. It's really the triumph in overcoming the suffering that teaches us a lot. So we don't ever want to turn down any opportunity to learn. And if it takes some suffering in order for us to really learn a lesson, well, that might be one of the most important lessons we ever learn. The last book I want to look at is Flow. Now, there's a lot of gems in this book, but I just want to read a couple to you. It says, when not preoccupied with ourselves, we actually have a chance to expand the concept of who we are. Now, those words are so true. When we're really focused on what we're doing, it's hard to see how we play a part in everything that's going on. We never want to lose sight that we're just a little part of the puzzle. So take a step back so you can really observe what's happening with yourself. Now, this last concept I'm going to share with you is something that I really take to heart. Many of us out there are professionals in the field of what we do. I am a professional musician, but I'm still an amateur when it comes to music. Now, a lot of people would associate amateur with maybe not being good in the field, but listen to how this book Flow describes what an amateur is. An amateur or a dilettante is someone not quite up to par, a person not to be taken very seriously, or one whose performance falls short of professional standards. But originally, amateur, from the Latin verb amare, to love, referred to a person who loved what he is doing. Similarly, a dilettante, from the Latin delectere, to find delight in, was someone who enjoyed a given activity. The earliest meaning of these words therefore drew attention to experiences rather than accomplishments. They describe the subjective rewards individuals gain from doing things instead of focusing on how well they were achieving. Now, I know that we all work really hard to gain that status of professional musician, but we should remember the true meaning of the word amateur. It means to love what you do. We should never forget the times that we were amateurs or still are amateurs when it comes to playing music. In that regard, I'll always be an amateur because I really love playing music. Now, if you have any books that helped you along your journey, please let me know in the comments below. I'm always looking to expand my library. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out, and I'll see you next time at the Chop Shop.